Hello and welcome to all the Gen AI Rockstar students as we continue our learning journey in AI graphic design and video. Up next is Module 6 of 17, Focus. Let's explore how this AI-powered tool can help elevate your creative work with smart automation and precision. Ready to take your designs to the next level? Let's dive in. Presented by Asia Pacific Adventures and Royal Oxford University.
The fascinating world of AI influencer creation using a powerful tool known as Fooocus. In this tutorial, we'll be unlocking the secrets to crafting consistent and captivating images of virtual models or AI influencers. With Fooocus, the process becomes not just easy but downright exciting. Stick around as we walk through the installation process, explore the user interface, and uncover the key techniques to create a base image that serves as the foundation for an entire array of stunning visuals. Whether you're a seasoned creator or a curious enthusiast, this guide will equip you with everything you need to know to harness the full potential of Fooocus. Let's jump right in. The installation process is designed with simplicity in mind, ensuring that even those new to the world of AI tools can seamlessly navigate through it. After downloading some large model files, your web browser should open, and now is a good time to familiarize yourself with the tool's Fooocus. I'll quickly go over the user interface, UI, with you, because if you use Stable Diffusion frequently, some of it may be obvious. The primary interface is rather straightforward, but you can enable the advanced settings down here, which will show you various performance and presets that we will look at in more depth later. Here, you can adjust the resolution and the number of images you wish to produce. You can also enter the negative prompt here, and if you choose not to, you can manipulate the seed. In the Style tab, you are presented with an extensive selection of styles that you can effortlessly apply to your image. Once more on that later. Juggernaut XL is selected by default on the Model tab because it was downloaded automatically during installation. You can, of course, switch to a different checkpoint, but keep in mind that Fooocus only supports SDXL checkpoints. Using one or more, including setting their weights, are additionally maintained. The Advanced tab includes settings for the guidance scale, which essentially establishes the intensity of your prompt, and the picture sharpness, which, as implied by the name and description, affects the texture and edge hardness or softness of the image. Let's now create the base image. Begin by creating the face that will serve as the foundation for the remaining pictures. In response to the challenge, I visited the page of the checkpoint that we used on Civit AI, so I'll just copy and paste. Here's how to edit the prompt to see what it provides me. When you use the tool's new function for the first time, the necessary files will automatically download in the background. Once you've found a face that you like in the Create Image Variations, you need to go to the Input Image and switch to the Image Prompt tab while clicking on Advanced. From there, you can drag and drop your input image into this field and change the preset to Face Swap. The last step is to customize the prompt. You can start with a blank one, but I prefer to change the one that was used for the input image. As you can see, these images are very similar to the input image, so just keep responding to the prompt to get the image you want. By the way, all images are automatically saved, and you can find them under Outputs in your Fooocus folder. Now, since I feel that it is doing a better job at making the face look closer to the input face using in-painting in Fooocus, let's say you have a photo you like but would like to tweak in a few areas. Next, you can select the In-Paint, Outpaint tab, drag in the image you want to edit, and then highlight the area you want to in-paint. This works well for making adjustments to the eyes or clothing. Just remember to drag the new image into the in-paint field before doing more in-painting so you don't lose your edits. You can adjust the in-painting technique here, but no matter what I'm in-painting, I always get excellent results with the default setting. The only thing you need to do is set the direction you want to outpaint. We want a wider image, so we check left and right. If you have an image that you are happy with, you can upscale it by going to the Upscale tab and dragging your image over there. These two options can be used to create variants of the image, which is fun to play around with, but for our use case where we want the face to be consistent, they are not really helpful. In the same tab, you can expand your image easily. Hence, in order to obtain a beautifully upscaled image, we choose to upscale at 2x and press Produce. In this example, we want the face of our model again, so we need to set this setting to Face Swap. Since we want this bodybuilding pose, we use pyrochenny, which works great for poses. For the background, we use this image with a CPDS preset because it should work great with any structure. This is another cool feature of combining images in Fooocus image prompt. Additionally, just like with ControlNet, you can use multiple images as input and basically combine certain features of them. But I don't see any reason to change this from the default value because going lower makes the face look less like the one we want. The weight is similar, but here, the higher you go, the more it resembles the input, so increasing the weight value can help. Next are the style presets. Since there are so many of them, I only tried adding these 3 to the ones that are enabled by default. As expected, the differences are slight, but it just goes to show that the preset can have a small impact on how the image looks. If you're having problems with that though, at some point it's losing all prompt, which is being in a gem. Next is the performance preset. In my experience, there's hardly any difference between speed and quality. Extreme speed looks a lot less like the input image. You shouldn't alter the guiding scale's default value too much, but you are free to go a little higher. The minimum value at 1 just doesn't resemble the input image at all. At first glance, it seems like the sharpness setting doesn't really matter unless you go for the highest value, but if you pay attention to the skin, you can tell that the skin gets more realistic or rougher with a higher sharpness value. So, if that's what you're after, use a higher value than the default one. Lastly, the aspect ratio or resolution can also have a significant impact on your photos. Fortunately, Fooocus lists all the resolutions that are compatible with SDXL. During my testing, I was unable to locate a single resolution or ratio that didn't produce excellent results. Many thanks to everyone who has contributed to the open source AI community in general, or to the technologies featured in this video. To ensure a smooth experience with Fooocus, the AI Influencer Creation tool, make sure your system meets the following hardware requirements. Ensure your computer has a minimum of 8 GB of system RAM. This ensures efficient processing and handling of AI-generated content. A dedicated NVIDIA GPU with a minimum of 4 GB of video RAM is essential for optimal performance. This GPU will handle the graphical demands of AI image generation. Reserve at least 33 GB of available disk space for installing and storing necessary files. This ensures you have ample storage for the tool's functionality and any additional content. Meeting these hardware requirements will contribute to a seamless experience while creating consistent faces for AI influencers using Fooocus. Now, let's start generating some AI influencers. We need a prompt to use here to generate our models. The easiest way is to simply copy the prompts from image generation sites like Leonardo.ai, TensorArt, Civitate.com, or CArt.ai. We need to find a photorealistic image prompt to copy. I found a really good photorealistic image generated in Civitate.com, as you see here. So you can grab this prompt to use as a base and modify it according to what you want. Here, I will be using this modified prompt to generate our model. Let's try this prompt and see who we will be saying hello to. Now, for what we are doing here, you can either use art style hyperrealism or Fooocus photography. Leave the other 3 options checked as is. This will give us the most realistic look for our AI models. It's so cool to be able to see the image generation process right in front of your eyes. These are pretty good. The details of the hair and the freckles make her look quite realistic, but let's try again and see what else it generates. I didn't change the prompt, but because the default random feature is selected, it generated images with slightly different poses, hair, outfit, and background without having to change the prompt. Oh, I like these ones as well. Now, I want to generate some more images with the top and bottom extended, so let's go to the main screen and click on Input Image. Under the Input Image tab, we see Upscale or Variations, where you can upscale your image and make variations, Image Prompt, where we can generate the model in different outfits and backgrounds with a source image, Face Swap, where you can swap faces, Pyrochenny, where you can input poses you want to imitate, CPDS, where you can fuse different structures and backgrounds, In-Paint or Out-Paint tab, where we can fix imperfections, modify content, or extend the image left, right, top, and bottom. And Describe, where we can upload an image and generate a prompt for that image. Now that we have generated our AI influencer model, let's see what else Fooocus can do for us to make her famous. Now let's look at the Upscale or Variation tab again. From the main page, we click on Input Image. For variations, we have Very Subtle and Very Strong. That means the image change will be subtle or drastic. It will combine the original image and the prompt to generate a new image. Let's try the Very Subtle for now and press Generate. They both look like the original image. One looks a bit too made up, but the other one looks good. Now, let's try the Very Strong setting. It is still the same face, but the hair has changed a bit. You can use this when you want to create a variation of hairstyles or other elements like clothes. A useful tip here: if you see an error screen like this during the generation process, do not panic. When this happens, simply go back to the Google Colab Fooocus platform and press this play button again. Let it run, and when you see this gradio.live link again, click on it, and you will see the starting screen again. Now, here is another method you can use to do a face swap. From this screen, click on Input Image, then the Image Prompt tab. Then, click on Advanced on the bottom. Here, click on Face Swap and upload the image you want to use. Now we input the original prompt to generate this model, and I added, "She's eating a steak dish at a restaurant in Paris," and hit Generate. I really enjoy watching this generation process. Wow, I like the output. I think it did a really great job at maintaining her face and generating images with great detail, like the people in the background and the restaurant interior. Let's now look at InPaint or OutPaint. You can use InPaint when you want to add or fix something, and OutPaint will extend the image to the left, right, top, and bottom. And here, you can change the settings for InPaint or OutPaint to improve details or modify content using the InPaint function. Now let's try the OutPaint function. You can extend the image to either the left and right, or top and bottom, or both. So let's check them all and see what we get. I have uploaded another image I generated earlier, and I left the prompt as is. Let's generate and see what we get. Now the photo has been extended on all sides with the background. It looks super realistic except for the hand here. But this can easily be fixed. Now I'm going to show you how to use the image-to-image function in Fooocus. Let's get started. So, here's just a basic example of an image I want to use as an input, and then get something like that as the output. As you can see, we have the mountains, we have this path here, we also have the clouds and a bit of fog there, and if you wanted to, you could get even more the same likelihood of this image with the different flowers and so on. I'm going to show you how to customize it so that you get similar images to your input image. So, let's first start from scratch here. First, we're going to just take the advanced checkbox here and the input image. So, as you can see, we have the different tabs here. We're going to solely focus on the image prompt. And this image prompt, if you leave it like that and put in your image and you don't check this advanced checkbox, then it's going to do a very similar thing to how you use input images in Midjourney. So, let me use this as an input image. I'm going to uncheck the random seed so we always use the same seed so we can easily track and customize our output image. And I'm just going to press on Generate here. It's going to generate us 2 images, and the idea behind this is that it's going to use this image as inspiration for our output images to a certain extent. And then it's going to use its own creativity, or in other words randomness, to create the output image. If I quickly press the advanced checkbox here, you're going to see the stop at and the wait. So these are the default values Fooocus is going to use. Or you might be asking yourself what these different numbers mean. The stop at basically means when the input image should stop influencing the final image generated by Fooocus. So for example, if this stop at is at 0.5, that means 50%. If that is at 50%, the final image won't be influenced anymore after 50% has been generated by Fooocus, and then it's going to use its own randomness to create the final image. And then the wait means how much the input image should influence the final image. So if you say, for example, 60%, then it should look 60% like this, and then 40% it should use its own randomness to create the final image. If we put this to 1, which I'm just going to show you briefly, then it's going to be looking very similar to this. Now, having used the default parameters here, as you can see, we already get quite a very similar looking image with the mountains, with the path here, with the flowers, with the clouds, with the fog. So all in all, pretty nice. If we wanted to get even closer to this image, as I've said, we can increase the weight. If you don't get results you want to use in the end, then always experiment with the different weights and the stop-ats. So right now, I'm going to put the weight at 1 and stop at the same at 50%. And by the way, we're just using the input image here without even using a text prompt. If we get, for example, an image here without the path here, and we still want to get the path in there, then we just say, for example, beautiful mountain view with a path as an example, or use different prompts. Again, you always have to test a bit around to get the results you want. And as you can see here, now we've got even more the same image as the input image because now you can see also paths back there, which we also have here in the input image. We have very similar looking clouds, as you can see. We even have these trees back there, which are also on here. We have the fog, which is there and there, which is also here. We have the sun back there, as you can see here. So, all in all, pretty nice, very similar generation. Just to give you an idea, we're also going to use the text prompt now in addition to the input image. So let's say beautiful mountain path. I'm going to reset the weight to 0.6. Let's press on generate. So the idea is while this is generating, we have a similar looking image, but we want to have, for example, not so many mountains, or we just want to have the mountains and just one path, a lot less grass, or more flowers, or fewer flowers. We would want a person in there, we would want a house in there, and so on. We can put all this into the text prompt, let Foocus be inspired by this image, and then use our text prompt to generate whatever we want. So this is what it generated with the text prompt and the weight at 60%. So again, a very similar look to our input image. But let's say we want to have this as inspiration, and then a house in the image, and we put the weight this time at about 80%. So we say beautiful mountain path with house, and now, as you can see, we have our path still here, our mountains, and then we have a nice house here. Same goes for the second image that Foocus generated. Again, our path, our mountains, our sky with the clouds, the nice flowers, and then our new house in there. So this is basically the image prompt. If you don't get the results you want to have, then you can also try out the Pyracani or the CPDS. So basically, these are two different control nets. There's a pretty nice discussion on GitHub about these image prompts on Foocus. So basically, Pyracani is a derivation of the original Canny control net. So basically, what this Pyracani does is it creates a line art picture that captures the intricate details of the input image and then applies that to the output image. Why is it called Pyracani and not Canny? Basically, the Foocus team took the Canny control net and then put their own touch on it. If you want to know more about it, you can read more about it here. Let's try it out. Let's press on pcanny here. As you can see, it's also going to change the default value to weight of 1. So I'm going to remove our text prompt for now. So it's going to create a line art image out of this one and then use that line art image as inspiration for the output image. So basically, it's going to, for example, draw this line here, and then we will have something similar in the output image. As you can see already here in the first output image, we already have this part of the mountain, and again, here we have this part of the mountain. Every time it's going to look different, and you can input a different text prompt. You can play with the stop, at, and the weight. And then the other one here is CPDS. So the original control net is just CPD, which stands for Contrast Preserving Decolorization, and then the S is structure. So the CPD control net was taken by the Foocus team, adjusted a bit in order to get the structure out of the image. So usually the original CPD is going to take, for example, this image, create a structure out of it, and then decolorize it. That's why decolorization is part of the acronym here. But Foocus, instead of decolorizing it, they just use the structure algorithm to get the structure of the image. So it's not actually going to decolorize it, but so that the structure of the input image is going to be extracted, and then Foocus is using that structure to create a new image. So again, the default values here are 0.5 and weight at 1, so 100%. Let's generate that. And while it's generating, by the way, you can again read more about what CPDS does here on the GitHub discussion, and if you want to see even more examples, you can also scroll down further here, and it's going to show you and explain to you what other things you can try out. So this is the first image that Fooocus generated for us. It's really not that similar to our input image, so in this case I wouldn't go with CPDS, but that's fine. We already found out that the image prompt really worked pretty nicely with a pretty high weight, and here's the second image. Again, it's not really what we want to go for in this case. Again, we could go for our text prompt, press on generate, then, if that doesn't give us the results, we could play around with the stop at and the weight. These are our outputs now. We have the mountain path here, and we have also the clouds up here and the mountains, which is quite a bit better. You could also put in with colorful flowers or with pink flowers or whatever to get it even closer to here. So now that we've looked at these three different ways, face swap is another thing we could use, but in this case we don't have any faces. But another thing you can still do here is use even more than one input image. You could even use 4 different images as inputs to create an output. So let's say we want to have this mountain view and we want to have a robot in there. I'm going to use this. I generated this robot also with Fooocus. We're going to use the text prompt, robot on beautiful mountain path. We're going to use image prompt for both, and let's go ahead and generate that. If you go back to the Fooocus discussion with the image prompts, they will also have examples on using multiple images as input images. For example, this person and then this nature view with the mountains in the background. Then they show you the output images Fooocus generated. Then it's going to show you how to use 2 images with some text prompt, and then there are even more advanced examples below. But coming back to our Fooocus generation, as you can see, we have this image with our mountain path, with the nice sun clouds, and now we have the bot in there. And then the second image is also very similar, and of course the robot is not looking the same as the input image. For that, you could simply increase the weight here, and let's increase also the stop at to 90% in this case. Also, you just have to play around a bit with the stop at and weight for both images, and then you might also think about using Pyrocanny or CPDS. Now you can see that the robot is looking quite similar to the input robot. So as you can see here, we also got a very similar again-looking robot. We have still a mountain path in the background in both cases. We no longer have our flowers there, so we could then try to reduce the stop at and then increase the stop at here. But you get the point. You just have to play around a bit with it. And this is Focus UI. And well, as you can see, it's pretty simple. Now there's a little advanced button here, but let's get to that in a second. First, we're just going to type in here, cat in a hat, and this is the first take. So let's see if I need to edit this or if we can use this. I think it's going to be fine. So we are seeing here live now a cat in a hat coming in, and I'm using an RTX 3080. You need to be on Windows to use this right now, and you have an NVIDIA GPU. You can also use Linux. It is recommended to have at least 4 GB of RAM. However, it's quite light on the RAM usage, and it's fairly fast. It's not lightning fast, but it's not as slow as some of the other SDXL interfaces out there. So I would say that these 2 results are fantastic. Now, it has the classic bokeh that all the SDXL images have, but I mean, these images are great. It sure does cats well. Now, in regard to the little advanced button here, now, the reason that we are getting great-looking images just by typing cat in a hat is not as simple as that. However, you actually don't need to know about it. You can just stick with this, go ahead, get great-looking images. But if you want to know a little bit more, check out this advanced gear. And first of all, you can set the performance here, speed, quality. You can change the size of the image, how many images you want, and the seed and negative prompt, etc. But the magic comes here in the little style tab because the styles are actually prompts that are being used under the hood. So the default here is a cinematic default. So our prompt cat in a hat is getting some extra styles here, extra prompts from cinematic default. You can change this to something else. Let's try game Pokemon here, and let's generate again a cat in a hat. Now, we're not using the same seed, so it's not an apples-to-apples comparison in the perfect world, but I don't think that's necessary. We are now getting a cat in a hat in a Pokemon card style in SDXL, and it's fairly easy to see just from the live render here. Now, the final image is going to be a little better, but you'll see that in a second. What I like about styles in general, it's a great way to just find inspiration. Sometimes you don't know what you want to prompt for and what you want to type in, so you can just, browse what's available. So we have our results here for the cat in a hat, and I think that's very cool, to be honest. So you can check these out and just see how easy it was to get up and running. In the last tab here, Advanced, we can change the model. It's currently just set up for SDXL, so it's the 1.0, and we can also load lower res here, but that's about it. And I think for a lot of users, that's actually all you need.
Assignment 6, Fooocus. Create an image of a model or influencer of your own using Fooocus. It is very important for all Gen AI Rockstar students to remember that you must complete all your assignments in each module and email them to ROU at ROU Education to obtain the Asia Pacific Adventures Diploma and Royal Oxford University degree. Practice daily to become a pro, enhance your career and business opportunities with a better income. Yes, you can. Congratulations and thank you very much to all the Gen AI Rockstar students and to everyone who supported and contributed to this degree in AI graphic design and video skills project. Life is beautiful and we wish you all continued good health and prosperity. Acknowledged by Asia Pacific Adventures. Recognized by Royal Oxford University.